Hi there. This is William. I'm at Occupy the Need Act. We need to change the money. The backbone of capitalism is banker created money. Looks like I'm online. That's fucking good. Um, we have legislation that will do that. We will change it from banker created to created in Congress. Did you ever vote for a banker or an officer of a bank? No, but you voted for a congressman. And so this legislation is H.R. 2990 of the 112th Congress. Let me put that up there so you can read it. It is this right here. Copy. I don't seem to have my chat. Let's see. Here we go. Here we go. Paste. Enter. There it is. H.R. 2990 of the 112th Congress. And there we go. H.R. 2990 of the 112th Congress. That's the bill, and you can look it up and see that what it does is it creates money as an asset, not as a debt. All money now is created as a debt. And no wonder we're so far in debt. Isn't it ridiculous that the government, that in the Constitution has the power to create money, is trillions of dollars in debt? Well, this goes back to, let's hide that message so I can talk to you. This goes back to Hamilton and Washington, right at the very beginning. In fact, it goes back farther than that. The colonies had no banks. The British wanted us to join their monetary system, and we said no. And that's what the War of Independence was all about. It was a war for independent monetary system. The colonies had no banks. So how they raised money was the colonies wrote their own certificates and used them to buy the supplies and materials and build the roads and the bridges and the things that they needed, and then to fight the British. And these poor 13 colonies fought off the greatest empire in the world with money that they created, like we want to create in H.R. 2990. So we can put that. This was a bill that was created by a man named Dennis Kucinich, who's congressman from Cleveland, Ohio. He's been a fighter for us ever since he was a young man. When he became mayor of Cleveland, he fought off the bankers that wanted to take over their power company. And he said no, and he fought them off. This little guy, a congressman or a mayor, fought off the powerful bankers of Cleveland, Ohio. I happen to know a little bit about that, in that I was doing business with a man in Cleveland, and one night we were riding in his big, I think it was Oldsmobile, a beautiful big old Oldsmobile, 98, Oldsmobile 98, and through downtown Chicago. It's kind of dark. And all of a sudden he said, we need to take care of the poor. And I didn't know really what he was talking about, but then I learned later what he was talking about was what Dennis Kucinich had got him to think about. in fighting for the power company to take care of the poor. They used the funds generated by the power company to fund their social programs. So that was my first run-in with Dennis Kucinich. And a group from the group that I'm with, the Banking and Monetary Committee of the Green Party of the United States, got them, uh, uh, worked with him to write the legislation that has been completely through the vetting process of Congress and is ready for prime time. We need to get your congressman to get it reintroduced. Call him up and tell him to reintroduce H.R. 2990. I've called mine up and he just ignores me. He knows who I am, and I get nowhere with Tom Cole of Oklahoma, and nowhere. But you might get somewhere with your congressman. So call him up and ask him to reintroduce this legislation. And let's see, let's go through here and let me post this. I can give you all the links here at once that you need to study this material and learn about what we can do. Let's get rid of this and post this. And okay, right here. Underneath this, if you look in the chat, and if it's not showing up in where you're watching this, either on Facebook or Periscope or Twitter or YouTube, I will post it on each one of those sites. It gives you the where to get all the information on this, and there we go. And get rid of that so I'm not talking through it. And that's the reason I'm doing these broadcasts, is to get you and anyone that's listening interested in what we can do to break the backbone of capitalism. And the backbone of capitalism is banker created money. We need to create money as an asset. It was done by, they beat the British. And when Lincoln was desperate for money to save the Union, he went to the banks and asked them for money, and they said, yeah, at 36% interest. And he thought, God damn, uh, uh, I don't want to create money by Congress. I want to borrow it from the banks, but they're not letting me. So the legislation got written then, and the greenback was created, and he used the greenback to buy the materials and supplies and everything that was needed in the war effort, and preserve the Union. Way before that, paleo time, money wasn't created first to end barter and enable trade. Money was created as a gift of love. In paleo times, they polished stones and feathers and made necklaces and bracelets and exchanged them, and that was money. And that was creating money as an asset. Pretty amazing story. It's all in this book called The Lost Science of Money. And if you can't see it in the chat now, you'll see it later when I post it on each individual website and give you an address to go to, and you can get a free copy of it. It's a 735-page book written by a man named Stephen Zarlinga. And I first learned of him at Occupy Chicago. He came to do an economics teach-in, and first teacher that got up was like the one I had when I was getting a degree in money and banking. Good. I see you, uh, Obamaism. Good. Uh, this is interesting. When I heard Stephen start talking, the first thing he did is he told the story of how Lincoln, how Hamilton uh, and Washington got together uh, to take the power of creating money from Congress and give it to their friends who became our first bankers. And 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 it's even more interesting than that because these guys knew that Congress was going to make whole all the debt certificates of the colonies, buy them for face value, and and uh, uh, and so they sent people out into the colonies to buy these debt certificates that the people out in the colonies thought were worthless. You know, the workmen that bought them, the merchants, the the craftsmen that bought them thought they were worthless. They took this money back. Uh, yeah, exactly. That's where bankers came from. Uh, they took these certificates back, uh, and Congress bought them for face value, and they used this money to create the first bank of the United States. When I heard Zarlinga tell that story, I thought, man, I got to find out who this guy is. And so I did. And I made a copy of that live stream that I was watching. And that's how I did it. I live in Norman, Oklahoma. And, and I was interested in Occupy Chicago because I have grandchildren there in Chicago. And and when I heard him, I thought I got to know who he is, and I did trace him down. He founded an institute called the American Monetary Institute, uh, and you can find it at monetary.org, monetary.org, and uh, they have a fall conference every year, and I went back in 2011, and that's where I met the people that are now the Green Party Banking and Monetary Reform Committee, and they just got legislation passed. And here is the press conference they gave Monday a week ago. Let's see here. Where is it at? Here we go. This is the press release uh, on March the 16th. And I'll post it here. Paste and show. There it is. Whoop. I didn't get the right one. Let's try that again. Copy. Let's get rid of that. I'm pretty new at this, so excuse my stumbling around. Wait a minute. Here we go. That ought to be it. And show. There we go. There's the URL, gp.org/greenbacks, not bailouts. And you go there and read our press release, and that was just done on March 16th. And so let's get this done out here. Yeah, so go to you can if you go to the hashtag Occupy the Need Act or hashtag Need Act, you can find where I've written a lot about this stuff. And so anyway, we can, by removing the power of the banks to create money, we cripple their their tool that they use to control us. So, and it is real simple. It's like you go to the bank to borrow money to buy that $30,000 new car you want. They'll say, Mr. Jones, we looked at your credit. You got credit, and I'll just have to fill out a few papers here, and he fills them out and on his computer, and he uh, gets them printed out, puts them on the desk, and you sign them and things. And then he says, Mr. Jones, look on your uh, phone there, and you'll see that $30,000 is in your account. The banker did not have that money to put in your account. He created that money right then. That is a bookkeeping entry that commercial banks can do, and they create money. And this gives them their real power. It's not money that they have in the bank, or not the stocks and bonds that they own. It is their power to create money right then. We're going to take that power away from them. And after the NEAT Act, they'll still be able to loan money, but it'll be money that they have to have, that people that have deposited in their bank can give them permission to loan that money. And then Congress will be able to create money and introduce it into the economy by doing the things that we want, like healthcare, like uh, like uh, uh, education, free education, like housing, like transportation, like a universal basic income, and not just a basic income, a guaranteed annual income. If they if the minimum wage had kept up with the increase in productivity since the 1950s, minimum wage now would be $40,000 a year. We can have a guaranteed annual income of $40,000 a year. Just think what that would do to take the stress out of our lives. We'd be able to have housing. We'd be able to do the things that we need to do with our children. We'd be able to do other things without stress, without the boss being able to have control of us. Because right now, the boss has control of you, right? If you don't do what he says or when he says or like what you're doing, he can say, maybe you need to go down the street and find a job. So anyway, we can take the power of the capitalists control our lives away from them. Get a copy of that book. It's long. Go to our website, Greens for Monetary Reform. This is a committee that I'm on, or part of. I'm an observer on the committee. I'm not a member of the Green Party. I decided I wanted to stay a Democrat. I don't know why. God, they did a terrible job. Start wars, kill people. Okay, let's do that and show. Here we are. Greensformonetaryreform.org. This is a website actually a group of us created before the Green Banking and Monetary Reform Committee was formed, and we let them take it over and use it to make news releases. And in there, if you look in there, you'll find a 2-year course that we did reading the Lost Science of Money. A group of us met for 2 years, once a month or twice a month, I don't even remember, and we went through the entire book, and there's slides and that kind of illustrate the points that we were talking about. So anyway, I think I will end the conversation. You have many bosses. Yeah, you're self-employed. It's Obamaism it's going to take you a while to get there. It took me a while. I went to the conferences the first year. I didn't understand a damn thing that they were talking about, but I was interested. And finally, my friend uh, Sue Peters from New York, who's a real leader of this Greens for Monetary Reform group, um, she got up and explained how money was created. And that was the first time I understood it. And that was pretty much that little story I told about going in and getting a loan and like after you sign the papers, the first thing the banker asks you then is, and didn't even ask you then because you had good credit rating, uh, you do have a job, and that meant the boss can tell you what to do. And so yeah, we all have bosses, and this plan is going to make it possible that we don't have a boss. And if you can live on $40,000 a year, uh, you wouldn't have to have a boss. Of course, and you'd be able to live on $40,000 a year because your housing's going to be free, your transportation's going to be free. You just think, whenever we get autonomous cars, you're going to be able, the government's going to be able to own them, and you're going to be able to get on the computer and type, say you need a car, you got to go to 3013 wherever, and the car will show up to take you there. You won't have to own a car. The fuckers have got us making car payments. I sold cars for 10 years. That's the last job I did before I retired 16 years ago. One of the first things I did when I retired, because I wanted to live on Social Security, I wanted to live a minimum wage life. I mean, a real minimum. Like when I got on Social Security, it was 800 and some dollars a month. And it's since increased in the 16 years. And, uh, and so I get around on a bicycle around my town, and it does everything I need to do because I'm single. I don't have children. That's all behind me. Uh, I was self-employed for many years, owned an iron foundry, uh, and had 5 children to take care of. God, there's no telling how much money I spent. Uh, but I don't have that anymore. They're all on their own and all doing good. And and my ex-wife is doing okay too. And, so anyway, I'm going to get off now, and I'll be back on again soon, probably about the same time tomorrow. So if I can learn how to do this, okay. Bye now.